Okay, let's continue this discussion regarding the legal battles that the US Department of Justice versus Trump are continuing. So we briefly gleaned a little bit into the Mar-a-Lago documents case. Now, that case currently has been kind of put on hold until May 24 in a few months, but most likely will not result in a trial in May of 2024 because of the fact that you have so many complex issues. First of all, is deeming what is allowed to be released to the defense attorneys, how they're going to review it, but also it requires security clearances because supposedly some of this is very sensitive. And of course, some people are grumbling that this is now going to be that this case is being held in the Miami District federal court, and that might be more conducive to Trump. However, the bottom line is procedures have to be done. Again, this is a novel case. We have never seen a case such as this. Also, this case has been largely brought because the archival department was demanding that Trump, who said, no, I declassified these documents, I can keep them. And this is where we're coming up. Again, there is an issue because we currently have an independent counsel looking into Biden at the same time, because Biden has been found to have had boxes upon boxes upon boxes in several locations of classified secret documents. So now let's go into Fulton County. Now, this was supposed to be what some would say the Democrats' first trial, the first major bite at the apple against Trump, and in a very friendly jury pool location because it is highly Democratic, highly liberal, and that is what a lot of people have been hanging their pin on. Now, here's the issue. The Fulton County case, which is the federal election subversion case, brought by, I'm sorry, not Fulton County, excuse me, the Washington, D.C. federal case, which goes to the obstruction of an election and the more serious charges against Trump, that is currently on hold. Now, remember, this was a trial that was supposed to begin in March. That was put on hold because of the question of immunity, whether Trump, who is arguing that as a president, sitting president, he has absolute immunity from any criminal liability. Now, the case, that argument was denied by the trial court, went to a 3-court panel of the Court of Appeals, and they have now issued and rendered their decision in a unanimous 2 Democratic appointed judges and 1 Republican appointed judge denied that a president has absolute immunity over all actions, to include the hypothetical of assassinating political opponents, that they denied that. Now, they have stayed the lower court. They have basically said, hey, trial court, you have to wait. You cannot issue a date for a trial just as yet until the former president has exhausted his appellate rights. However, they did give Trump's team an ultimatum, basically. They said that if you put this before or request a full panel, so that means right now we had 3 judges making the decision. If you want to go before the 15 panel of judges in this appellate court, then we're going to go ahead and lift this stay and allow the trial court to set a trial date. So basically pushing Trump and his team to go straight to the Supreme Court of the United States to determine the immunity clause. Again, a very novel first case of first appearance and impression before the SCOTUS. So that is on hold. And on top of that, there are other cases being heard by that judge in this federal court that, so the real issue is whether, one, does he have immunity or not? And some would say most likely that will come against him. But then when can this case be set for trial? Because we are coming down to the wire on a national election. Then we had the Georgia Fulton County case. That is the election subversion charges and RICO Act charges brought by District Attorney Fani Willis, who is in extreme hot water herself. And even though this is like so many defendants have been on it, somehow are playing out, but this is a continuing saga. And the reality is that this case most likely will be kicked down. That can has to be kicked further down for trial because, first of all, the numerous defendants that are being dealt with, the issues that are being presented. Also, now her relationship with the special counsel, special prosecutor that she hired, who may or may not have any experience in RICO, and the substantial wages he's receiving is causing now that case to be further delayed and questioned. Some are basically saying this shows the veracity of that this is a political hit job against Donald Trump, which honestly further devolves into what is happening to our political aspect, and has our Department of Justice, has the State Department of Justice, has our judicial system been politicized? And as a lawyer who has taken an oath to uphold the Constitution, that is something that I find personally objectionable, because absolutely, if someone violates the law, if someone has incurred in an insurrection, if whether or not there is an insurrection, these are all questions that have to be dealt with, and nobody is above the law. But also that means that there should not be a attorney general running for election stating she will do everything in her power to go after this man, the former president of the United States, and anybody who might be associated with. Now, let's get into the more exciting topic. Well, at least it's exciting for those of us that might be a little bit of legal geeks, in that we have had, for the first time, the United States Supreme Court is going to determine what is the implication of Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. More specifically, the United States Supreme Court justices expressed doubt over Trump's ballot disqualification. So in the recent Supreme Court hearing, which was basically the arguments after submission of briefs, the justices appeared skeptical by a ruling by the Colorado Supreme Court disqualifying Donald Trump from the state's Republican primary ballot and effectively from the national election, or at least their ballot for national election. And this, interestingly enough, is not cut on just who are the conservative justices versus this. This is actually ideologically, the judges have been questioning this, and the skepticism seems to be going across the spectrum of the judges ideologically. The case stemmed from arguments regarding whether Trump's actions to undermine the 2020 election should render him ineligible for future office. Also, let's recall the Colorado, the trial court did a judicial bench trial, not to find whether or not, again, Trump has never been charged, convicted of insurrection, or has been found to be the leader of an insurrection. This has yet to be tried. This has not been determined. He has never been convicted, but a Colorado trial court on a bench trial seemingly to say, yes, he's an insurrectionist, no, he's not eligible to run. So the real question is, one, can states determine whether an individual running for federal election, can they prevent someone from appearing on that ballot? During this hearing, there were limited discussion about the Capitol riot on January 6th or Trump's involvement in it. Instead, which I agree with this, the focus is on whether an individual state has the authority to disqualify candidates in national elections without proper congressional legislation. Chief Justice John G. Roberts Jr. highlighted the 14th Amendment's role in restricting state power and empowering the federal government, suggesting that states determining a candidate's eligibility would contradict the amendment's purpose. Additionally, some justices entertained arguments suggesting that the provision in question bars candidates from holding office rather than merely running for it. Furthermore, there was debate about whether the president falls under the scope of the provision. The Supreme Court's involvement in this case is reminiscent of its pivotal role in Bush v. Gore in 2000, emphasizing the significance of the court's decision in the outcome of a presidential contest. While the timing of the ruling remains uncertain, the Supreme Court has expedited the case. Arguments presented by both sides focused on whether Trump's actions constituted insurrection and whether the 14th Amendment applies to disqualify him from office. Despite Trump's assertions of innocence regarding the Capitol riot, the case underscores broader questions about the intersection of constitutional provisions, state authority, and presidential eligibility. As we continue to watch what happens, we know that this is going to be a case that will be decided very quickly. The plaintiffs in the Colorado matter are requesting that the justices rule by this Sunday because the ballots will be mailed out for their primary on Monday. The bottom line is, the question is, do the states have a right to prevent someone going forward? Was Trump, I think even more importantly, if they even go into this, which it doesn't seem like it looks like they were trying to skirt that issue potentially, but will they find that, yes, he was, the ringleader of an insurrection? Again, that should be something dealt with properly, and I think that will be dealt with in either the Georgia case, and again, this does not deal with the Georgia case, or whether the DC federal case, whether he had actually committed acts to prevent a lawful election from being certified and his refusal to turn over power. Much of this, again, many people are very angry. And maybe this is somewhat of the backlash against Trump running again this time around, is because if he had done things differently, we would not have seen this chaos. Again, someone has to argue, Trump is a strategist. He loves to play games and he always puts himself in a winning position. So was this a strategy back then? I don't know what conspiracy theorists would say. Some would argue that yes, this was all deemed to be a strategy back 4 years ago to give him even more propulsion today. However, one thing holds true, that without all of these indictments, Trump may not have been getting the polls behind him, the people behind him, the people feeling like he is being victimized by political persecution. So we will continue to watch this matter as the Supreme Court looks at a very novel arguments as well as setting new precedents in this matter. Now, join us again after this quick commercial break, so we will continue to talk about the election, the primaries, and what is going on with Tucker Carlson and the interviews in Moscow. Please join us, and we'll be right back.